Welcome to the Find Your Leadership Confidence podcast with Vicki Nedling. You are about to discover impactful lessons that help you grow as an individual, grow your confidence, and find the positive and good within you, so you powerfully and authentically become the best version of yourself. Be sure you visit our website at www.findyourleadershipconfidence.com. While you're there, subscribe to us via your favorite network. Now tune in, get ready, and enjoy the journey of emerging as a leader of exception in the 21st century.
Welcome, everyone, to the Find Your Leadership Confidence podcast. I'm your host, Vicki Nedling, coming to you from Roswell, Georgia. The goal of this podcast is to bring topics and guests that will empower you to take your business or your life to the next level. Today, I'm very pleased to have Dave Albin as my guest, who has a wonderful background, and we are going to talk about how to change someone's life in 4 seconds. Very anxious to hear this. Let me tell you about Dave. So Dave was born in 1954 at Queen of Angels Hospital in Hollywood, California, to a single mother. He was adopted by his aunt and uncle on his mother's side at the age of 5. His adoptive parents told Dave they were not his parents at age 11. Later that year, his adoptive parents started drinking, and this is where Dave's life took a hard turn. Dave tried alcohol at age 12. By the time he was 14, he was experimenting with hard drugs. Grossly addicted to drugs and alcohol, he joined AA some 20 years later in June of 1988. This is when Dave was introduced to the personal development industry. He attended a seminar with Tony Robbins in 1995, where he did his first Firewalk. Dave went on to work with Tony Robbins for just shy of 20 years as Tony's Firewalk captain. Dave retired from Anthony Robbins companies. I never knew he used his full name for that. Yeah. In 2014, shortly after Google hired him to put on an event for them. Firewalk Productions LLC was born in 2014. Dave has done gigs for NASA, Heineken, the Entrepreneur Organization, RE/Max, Chick-fil-A, Prove It, Google, NI, NC Chiropractic Association, Wayne Dyer, T. Harv Eker, Chris Video, Tony Robbins, and many more. I'm so excited to hear all about you, Dave Albin. Please welcome Dave to the stage.
Thank you, Vicki. That was a mouthful to read.
I know, but it's
right?
Like such a great story. I mean, God, there's a book in here. There's a movie in here. It's very, very interesting, your background.
Yeah.
So we start out with a very easy question. Tell everyone where do you call home? Where do you live now? Are you still in Los Angeles, or where are you living now?
No. I actually relocated to the East Coast in 1983. I'm currently living in the northwestern tip of North Carolina in the Appalachian Mountains. So geographically, Boone, North Carolina, which is where Appalachian State University is.
I have a cousin or a nephew-in-law, I guess, that's family is from Boone.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Spells. Do you know the spells?
No, but I'm sure we probably ran into each other somewhere, because it's a pretty small community, other than, all the students and all the parents who come up to App State. But it's beautiful here. This is absolutely gorgeous. I've got my little cabin here. I'm an empty nester. My daughter lives about 20 minutes west of me. My son lives 25 minutes to the east of me, and my grandkids are up here. So I've got the best of both worlds. It's just me and my German Shepherd up here in this beautiful, beautiful part of the world.
How many grandkids?
I have two now. Charlotte Ray was just born on Good Friday.
So
she's
wonderful.
Right. Oh yeah. Don't even get me started.
I want a grand girl, but I'm not going to get one.
Yeah. Well, she's only been around for about 6 weeks, and I'm all in. She's got my heart, hook, line, and sinker. So beautiful thing. Yeah. So I've got two grandkids. Beautiful.
Yeah, I have two grand boys, a 4 and a 7.
Yeah, that's nice.
And
so you know.
Yeah, I know. But
Right?
I had two girls.
And, yeah. Oh, okay.
And my husband can tell you, just wrapped around that finger.
Well, you know how the joke goes, right? If I'd have known grandkids were going to be this awesome, I'd have had them first. Right?
I know. I do drive my daughter crazy, but my goal in life is to have my grandkids cry to not leave.
Right. Well, you get them all sugared up and then you hand them back, right? So that's a beautiful part. Yeah.
I know. They're awesome. So how did you become the #1 Firewalk instructor in America? And, well, let's just maybe go back. I doubt that people don't know this, but maybe some of the folks don't know. What is a Firewalk?
What is a firewalk? Right. Yeah, let's start there. Mm-hmm. A firewalk is where you literally the act of walking on hot coals. Mm-hmm. It's been around for over 1,000 years, and cultures all over the world have been doing it. Literally, the Phoenicians, the people of India, the Indo-Europeans. The Indo-Europeans, actually, the warriors used to do it. So if they had to go into battle the night before they went, they would do a firewalk. And what that would set up is that if one of the warriors didn't firewalk, for some reason, it would dishonor his family, and he wasn't even allowed to go into battle. The Polynesians, the Hawaiians, the Native American Indians, again, Vicki, firewalk has been around for over 1,000 years. Tony Robbins came along back in the 1980s and turned it into a motivational experience. Yeah. But most of the firewalking has always been a ceremonial rite of passage type experience.
Very good. See, we needed to share that.
Yeah.
Because I think, anybody that's way younger than me would just think it's just a Tony Robbins came up with it kind of thing.
Yeah, right. No, actually, he had a gentleman that trained him, trained T. Harv Eckert. He trained a few of them how to do it. And Tony just knew that it was a very powerful experience. I mean, literally, for many, many, many people, it is literally one of the most life-changing experiences anyone can have, because it's so different, right? It's not like jumping out of a plane or bungee jumping or doing something like that. It's a very spiritual experience. The element of the fire itself and the whole idea of the act, right? Because when it's your turn to walk, you're faced with what everyone else is faced with, fight or flight. And most of us have burnt ourselves at some level. And so we know the idea of firewalking just doesn't make any sense at all.
Yeah,
I think Oprah said it well when she did her firewalk back in 2010. If you go Google that and you watch it, it's unbelievable, because it really does a great job of depicting what somebody literally goes through. And after Oprah firewalks, you'll see she walks over, the cameras go with her, and she literally makes one of the biggest business decisions of her entire life. It's where she created what's called the next chapter. And she's even talking about it. She said, this is not right. This is unreasonable, she said, because, mammals are taught to run from fire, right? And so the idea of walking across them just logically doesn't make any sense.
Right.
And yet, the bottom line is that it literally can be a top 10 experience in anybody's life, just right there on the spot. Very powerful. Wow.
So how did you become the #1 Firewalk instructor?
I think I made that left-hand turn at Albuquerque, right? As Bugs Bunny would say. It's just really, it's so bizarre, Vicki. I mean, It's not like I had planned it. It's not like I had this idea. This is what I wanted to do. I wasn't looking through all the college courses and said, "Hey, Firewalk instructor, I'll do that." Right? I mean, literally, it started by me going to my very first event. when I got sober in June of 1988, as you read my bio there, about the same time, the personal development industry and AA came together in my life. And it came together because I had insomnia. I was up late all the time. I mean, my sleep patterns were all over the place. So I'm up late one night and there I am, there he is, Mr. Enthusiasm's up, there he is, with Gunther Ranker, the #1 infomercial specialist in the world, Tony Robbins. And so, there he was all motivated, and he was, a young Tony Robbins, and he was selling a program called Personal Power. And Personal Power was a 30-day program. And and to date this, it came on these little white things called cassette tapes.
I talked about that earlier today with someone.
Right. So your audience are going to, what's that? What's a cassette tape?
Put a picture at the end.
There we go. Put a picture at the end, or go to the Smithsonian. You can see him in there. And so he said a couple things during the infomercial that really got me. One, he said, we'll do more to avoid pain than we will to gain pleasure. I remember thinking, whoa, okay. Was he talking to me? Because I'm in a lot of discomfort. I'm in AA, I'm coming off drugs, I'm coming off alcohol. This is not a fun time by any stretch of the imagination. It's miserable. And then he said, the two driving forces in our life is we make decisions based on inspiration or desperation. Yeah. And I remember thinking, whoa, that's pretty profound. And that really got me. So I bought his program, and he sent them to me, and I plugged them in, and I went through them, Vicki, and I did what the man taught me to do, and it worked. And what happened from there is I loaned my program to a buddy in AA. Well, 7 years later, I get a call on the phone from my buddy, and he said, hey, Dave, did you know that Tony Robbins is coming to town? I said, no. He goes, well, you want to go, right? He goes, listen, you got to go. You got me into this guy. We have to go. And I'm like, okay, well, right. I'm up for that. Sure. And he goes, you'll go? And I said, yeah. And he goes, great. I'll call you back. Poof. He was gone. Calls me an hour later. He goes, done. We pick up the tickets at will call. Here's what they told us to do. Number 1, drink a lot of water. Stay hydrated. Bring snacks, because you're going to spend a lot of time in the room. And I laugh to this day. I'm like, well, that was an understatement. If you ever go to a Tony Robbins seminar, let me tell you something, you are going to spend a lot of time in the room. And he said, bring a good attitude and be ready to play full out. And just as he's getting ready to hang up the phone, he goes, oh, wait, I forgot to tell you. We're going to be doing a firewalk. And I remember thinking, oh, hell no. No. This is the dialogue in my head, by the way, Vicki. I'm not saying this to my buddy Dan, right? And I'm just going, oh no, that's a hard no. And what's interesting is I was saying no to something that I didn't even know what I was saying.
What
no
it was.
I don't know what that is. What is a firewalk?
Well,
right?
It doesn't sound good though.
So it doesn't sound like anything I'm going to be doing. I can tell you that.
No.
Nope. Well, we get to the event that day, and Tony takes the stage at 2:00 in the afternoon.
Yeah.
Well, the next thing I know, it's after midnight. Do the math. I'm in a room with Tony for 10 hours, right? Back to the bring snacks, you're going to spend a lot of time in the room. And all of a sudden, Tony goes, take your shoes off. And I went, oh, no, you're not tricking me, pal. I'm not taking my shoes off. And then I went, no, by the way, I'm in a seminar with 3,500 people, just so you know.
Wow.
And so I'm like, oh, wait a minute. If you don't take your shoes off, everyone else is going to know. And by golly, we can't have that, right? So I'm like, well, just take your shoes off and fake it. Go hide in the back somewhere. No one's going to know.
Go to the bathroom.
Yeah, right. So the next thing you know, he's got everybody chanting.
Yeah.
So as you're walking out there, everybody's clapping and chanting. They're going, yes, yes, yes. And I'm thinking, what is wrong with these people? What are you doing? Don't do it. You're drinking the Kool-Aid. Don't do it. And so he has you walking out there into this big parking lot where the firewalk's going to take place.
Yeah.
Well, when you get out there, guess what else he's got going on? African drummers.
Oh.
Right. So now it's dun, 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 dun. And, you can feel the vibration. Everybody's chanting yes, and they're clamping. and over in the corner, he's got this giant fire. And it's been burning all day. So they literally started at like 2:00 in the afternoon when Tony took the stage, and now it's been burning for 10 hours. So they keep adding wood, and it just would render. And then at the end at night, it had this giant, beautiful pile of coals. I mean, where they built this pit, it was probably 30 feet wide, and I bet you it was 60, 70 feet long, easily. And it's this giant pit of coals. Well, what they do is they take a wheelbarrow, and then they go over to that pit, they load all those coals in a wheelbarrow, and then they bring a wheelbarrow in between 2 lanes of sod, of grass. And that firewalking lane's about 3 feet wide, maybe 18 feet long. And then what they would do is they take a flathead shovel, and from that wheelbarrow, they'd sprinkle those coals on top of the grass. And that's what you literally walked on. Well, I'm not doing this. So I'm real hardcore here. I am not going to firewalk. So I said, just go hide in the back. No one's going to know.
3,500 people.
3,500 people. How are they? They don't take an inventory here. There's no way of accounting for everybody. Well, here's what I've learned. Tony wants you to have this experience. And he's really focused on making sure that you get the opportunity to firewalk, because he knows this is going to be one of the most life-changing experiences ever. And so guess what he does? He trains people to go in the back and look for the cowards. So there I am, like a sitting duck, and I'm back there all by myself, minding my business. And all of a sudden, here he comes. And this guy, he makes eye contact with me. Well, apparently Tony must train them. Hey, when you make eye contact with these people, don't take your eyes off of them. And so he gets about 20 feet from me, right? And he kind of bends over and he looks at me like he's got a puzzled look on his face, right? And he says, "Are you okay?" And when we're not okay, what do we say?
No, I'm fine.
I'm fine. We're good here, pal. Don't you? We got it. We're all good here. And he goes, "Oh, good." He said, "Well, then, are you going to walk tonight?" And I said, "Absolutely not." Like, didn't you get the memo? I mean, what are you, nuts?
Why do you think I'm back here?
Yeah, why do you come back here? And I said it with, some, I don't know, kind of
attitude.
You
had some attitude.
All right, maybe I had an attitude. And he goes, "Hey, man, that's cool." He said, "Listen, man, we don't want you to do anything you don't want to do." And I thought, okay, well, that's good. I like this guy. He's going to get me out of here, right? And all of a sudden he says, "Well, let me ask you a question. Wouldn't you at least like to watch?" And I thought, yeah, okay, I'll do that. I don't mind watching. It just should be entertaining. Let's go watch these people burn their feet off. Yeah, this should be good. And he said, "Well, listen, I'm by the way, I'm 100 yards from where they're doing it. Right? I'm behind all these people. I can't see anything."
Oh, right.
I can hear them.
Can you smell it?
You can smell it.
Yes.
You've got all that's all going on. And he said, "Well, listen, just get in line, and eventually you'll get up there to where you can see it." Now, in his defense, he is telling the truth, because I couldn't see anything. So I'm like, all right, well, I'll just get in line and eventually I'll be able to see it. So I get in line, I'm kind of walking along. And all of a sudden, the next thing I know, this guy comes up and he whispers in my ear. And he said, "He knows when you're ready. When he says go, you go." And all of a sudden, poof, this guy just disappeared into the night. This is a beautiful summer night. The stars are out. It was like so bizarre that this guy just kind of shows up and leaves like that. And so I'm kind of walking along, and all of a sudden, I still can't see in front of me, but all of a sudden I look and I could see at an angle. And I'm looking and I'm going, my God, they're actually doing this. And, they're real enthusiastic, and they're screaming and yelling, and it's every race, creed, and color. Everybody's doing it. And now I'm just in a trance. I'm just staring at these people kind of trudging along here and walking along. And, it's unbelievable. The first time you see this, it's like, you have no references, right? So your brain is just going, what on earth is going on? Why are they doing this? What's the metaphor for? I mean, what is this? And all of a sudden, I'm not really paying attention what's in front of me. And you can probably guess the next thing that happens.
Yes.
Right? Boom. I look up and guess where I am?
At the
I'm
front
in the
of
front
the line.
How did I get here? right? To make that left hand turn at Albuquerque, right? And all of a sudden now I'm staring, Vicki. I feel like my heart's going to come out of my chest. I'm scared to death. It's pumping, and I'm staring at the coals on this lane. It's 3 feet wide, 18 feet long, and they're glowing bright red. And there's a wheelbarrow there. You could feel all the heat coming off, and I'm staring into the abyss. Well, there's a trainer standing there, and all of a sudden he goes, "Eyes up," and I went, "Oh, geez," right? And now my eyes are up. Well, I'm in a room with Tony for 10 hours. Guess what he tells you to do? Keep your eyes up. Don't stare at what you fear. Look to the end of the fire lane, the celebration end. That's the point you want to focus on. So now my eyes are up, and the trainer goes, "Squeeze your fist and say yes." And I went, "Yes." And he went, "Stronger." And I went, "Yes." Well, he could tell I wasn't in a peak state. He knew I wasn't all in, not at that point. Well, he screamed at me again. And he, screamed at me, "Stronger." So now I'm kind of like ticked off. I threw my hands in the air and I screamed at the top of my lungs. And he goes, "Go, go, go." Pew! I took off. Well, here's the first thing I learned about firewalking. When you take the first step, kind of metaphorically like life, you'll take the second, third, fourth, and fifth. I promise you.
Because it's going to hurt the way.
You're not going to stop. It's not going to happen. Well, Tony positions two people at the end of the fire lane, and they kind of lock arms, and they catch you. And they're like, "Stop, wipe your feet and celebrate." So I'm kind of wiping my feet and I'm celebrating. And all of a sudden it dawns on me. I go, "Oh my gosh, I've burnt myself really, really bad." And I pull up my right foot and I look at it. It's dirty, but there's no burns. Oh, it's my other foot. It's my left foot. I lift it up. I'm looking at it. It's dirty, but there's no burns. Now, I just walked across coals that are 1,000 degrees and I didn't burn myself. And here's the funniest part. I have no clue how I did it. None. I don't know. I mean, you know what I mean? You ever done something really cool and you go, "Hey, that's me. That's right. I did that." But I had no clue how I did it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so the moment you finish the firewalk, for me, and I would say almost hundreds of thousands of people that I've been involved in seeing this happen to, it's exhilarating. It is such a phenomenal moment in someone's life because it changes you right on the spot. Because now that you firewalk, you can't undo it. So the question you might want to ask yourself, which obviously Tony does some NLP practitioner implanting in your brain, and that is, if you can firewalk, walk on coals that are 1,000 degrees, what else can you do?
Yeah.
Well, here's where it starts to get really, really interesting. The next day. So it's just, by the way, this is a 4-day event. The firewalk was the first day, day one. So now we're coming into day 2. Well, when you come in, we're all standing in the foyer, 3,500 people, getting ready to go into the venue. Vicki, I've never seen or witnessed anything like that in my life. It was unbelievable. Our self-worth and our self-confidence and our belief about ourselves all lifted up together collectively as like a tribe, if you will, 3,500 people. And so what I was witnessing was people getting along humanistically, unlike anything I'd ever experienced in my life.
Yeah.
It was beautiful. They were laughing and hugging and crying and telling their stories. It was, I don't know how to explain it other than it was one of the most powerful moments that I've ever experienced. And I've never seen anything like it anywhere else in the world except at a Tony Robbins seminar. So it's a beautiful thing. Well, that was it. I was done. Stick a fork in me. Hook, line, and sinker. Firewalking changed my life. I saw it change 3,500 people's lives. And I went, okay, I want more information about this. So what I found is that when Tony puts on an event of that size, he uses several hundred people as volunteers. Well, one of the trainers said, "Hey, if you've got an interest in, he said, see all these people in here with these black and pink shirts?" And I said, "Yeah." And he goes, "They're all volunteers. So if you want to become one, when you get home, call Robbins Research in San Diego, and they'll send you an application, fill it out, send it back in. And if they like what they hear from you, they'll choose you. You can come be part of this." And I thought, well, wow, wouldn't that be cool? So I did exactly what Ted told me to do. And sure enough, I got a letter in the mail shortly after, a couple of weeks after I filled it out and sent it back. Said, congratulations, Dave Albin, you've been chosen to crew the Anthony Robbins event in Fort Lauderdale, Florida. Well, when you fill out the application, they're asking you a lot of questions. Number one, I had a security background. I had a military background. I lived on a farm, so I had access to tools and equipment, and I knew how to chop wood and split wood, and so I knew all that kind of stuff. Well, when you come into registration at that event, the first thing they did is they talked to me about my security background, and then they put me on the fire building team. And so shortly after that, I think the second time I crewed, I actually got put on the security team. Tony has a lot of celebrities, that come to his event, and they need help with those people. So they put me in that position. And then on the fire building team, like within a couple of months, they actually offered me a subcontractor's position as the assistant captain. This would have been back in late 95, early 96. And then from there, 95, 96, and 2003, after being around the environment for a few years, Tony offered me the captain's position, which meant that I would be in charge of facilitating all of Mr. Robbins' firewalks globally. Tony even paid to have my family travel with me. I homeschooled, so I got to take my son and my daughter.
Wow, that's awesome.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. I mean, in fact,
what an experience for them too.
Oh, it's just delicious. I mean, just such a beautiful thing. In fact, their first firewalk, their first event with me on the road, Sydney, Australia. So, right, yeah. So my kids have been pretty abused, that's for sure. In fact, my son and my daughter, the first time they firewalked, we were in New York, and my daughter was 6, and my son was 9. Of course, some would call that child abuse. But I can tell you that it influenced them at a really deep level, just like it does all kids. It's a phenomenal experience. You take any kid and you firewalk them at a young age, and guess what? That same thing. Now, what else can you do? So it was a beautiful thing. And that went along for, a long time, through 2003. And then in 2014, I'm driving down the road, and the next thing I know, I'm talking to Google. And they want to know if I'm the Dave Albin that does the firewalks for Tony Robbins. Yes. What can I do for you? Well, we'd like to talk to you about doing an event for us in Mountain View for 148 executives. And we ended up doing that. And they hired me. And that's when the light bulb went off. I also had a conversation with a couple of the Google execs. And they said, look, we're not here to tell you what you do, but what to do in terms of working for Tony, but you may want to think about starting your own business, because we're going to tell you straight up, there's a unbelievable marketplace out there in corporate America for what you do. So CEOs and business owners and entrepreneurs and all these guys are always looking, they're looking for the edge.
Right.
How do we inspire our people? How do we motivate them? How do we encourage them? Well, they turn them over to me for 3 to 4 hours. And like you said in your show, a description, how do you change your life in 4 seconds? Well, that's the way you do it.
Yes, with looking straight ahead.
Keep your eyes up and keep moving. And when you get to the end, stop, wipe your feet, and celebrate.
Yeah.
And that's what we did. And so my career has been going on since then. Once I got to Google and I started my own company and I retired from Tony's organization, as you said, the next thing I know, I'm at NASA, Notre Dame, Chick-fil-A, Remax, Heineken, Microsoft. I mean, just on and on and on and on and on. And
so how did the COVID affect your business?
It shut me down like it did the rest of the world.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. I mean, in March of 2020, every event that I had booked had to postpone.
Yeah.
One of my
can't do it virtually.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. Exactly. I'm thinking
I'll sign up for the virtual.
Yeah. We're still trying to figure that one out. I can tell you. We have done other things. So we've done the board break virtually, which is, that's a martial arts move where you break the board with your bare hands. So we've done that. I've done several of those. But, we do a lot of things. Yeah, we do corporate America at a really high level. But where my love is and where my sweet spot is with kids. I love doing junior high schools and high schools and that kind of a thing. A couple of years ago, I also was a good friend of mine, entrepreneur. He said, Dave, something you ought to think about is to create, an academy of some kind where people can send their people to you, you train them, and let them go back and do what you've trained them to do in their own respective companies. So we started the Dave Albin Firewalk Academy. And we have an event coming up this year in October. We keep it small. We keep it intimate for that purpose. And so they come up here to the Appalachian Mountains. They spend a week with me, and I train them, with over 3 decades of experience in the personal development industry, and they come up here, and it's quite an experience. In fact, if your listeners will, when we get to the end, remind me, and I'll give you a code, or give your listeners a code, and if they want to go to our website, they can click on the tab at the top. It says the Dave Albin Academy, and if they decide they want to pursue coming, they'll use a code that I'll give them, and it'll give them a substantial discount for being part of your show today.
That's so great. So you say that you've firewalked over 500,000 people.
Yes, ma'am.
What's your lifelong goal?
Wow, you know what? That's a really great question. I don't think anybody's ever asked me that before, literally. I don't know that if I have a number in mind. When I retired from Tony's organization, we sat and talked for hours, and it was a wonderful thing. And he basically at the end said, look, Albie, with great wisdom comes great responsibility. And so, make us proud. I know what a powerful experience this is, and I know what it'll do. Because, right now, I don't think it's much of a stretch to say that companies got ripped apart, because everybody's fighting over a bunch of dumb stuff. They're fighting over political stuff. They're fighting over vaccines. They're fighting over masks, so everybody got ripped apart. And so from a company standpoint, what happens when that happens, when there's a bunch of dissension? Well, production goes down. If production goes down, guess what? That doesn't look good to the bottom line on any corporation. So, they can get a hold of us. We'll come in, give them to me for 3 or 4 hours, and guess what? We'll fix it. Because the fire doesn't care whether you wear a mask or you didn't, or you do, or you did a vaccine or you didn't do a vaccine, or you hate Donald Trump or you love Donald Trump. Fire doesn't care, right? It gets us back to being humanistic, back to what I was talking about earlier, right? Yeah. That next day, on day 2, there I was with all these people, all these strangers. And man, what a beautiful thing it was to get along harmoniously with all of them. It was beautiful. And so that's what it does. Give them to us, and we'll get them back on the same page, playing together in a very respectable way. Like one of the things too we give them is we give them one of these, and all it is we take the coals, right,
that they walked on,
and then we send this to them, and then that way they can put it on their desk or their credenza or whatever. So that's a really powerful anchor that they can have, and they can keep it with them forever. Because firewalking is, they're never going to forget it, ever. Yeah. You can go see a lot of keynote speakers get on stage, talk about a lot of things, but at the end of the day, 6 months down the road, if I was to go ask them, hey, you listen to XYZ speaker? Yeah. What was your biggest takeaway? I don't know. I don't even remember. I can't even tell you the name of the person. Right. So what I tell people is, look, what doesn't challenge you doesn't change you.
Yeah.
So if you don't get them up and do something to shift their nervous system, then it's not going to be a life-changing experience. That's not how it works. So that's the beauty in the firewalk. And again, let's give credence to Tony. He got that figured out. He knew that. That's why he brought it in. Because he knew he'd get leverage on people, and that's how he did it. And I just happened to be the guy that got to ride that ride with him. And so it was a beautiful thing.
Sure.
Very, very grateful. The
first time I ever met anyone that had firewalked was at one of my Toastmaster conferences. And it was this girl's little petite thing. And she was a good speaker, but then after she did the Firewalk and she talked about it, you could just see a change in her.
Yeah.
And now she's a great speaker.
People ask me that all the time. Dave, what happens? How do you do it? How can you walk across coals that are 1,000 degrees and not burn yourself? And I'm like, I don't know. I don't pretend that I have the answer to that. I've got an hallucination about it. I know that over 90% of all the people that walk on coals, they don't get burnt. They don't hurt themselves. I mean, I've never had anybody hospitalized. I mean, no one's ever sued us or any of that kind of a thing. And it's actually pretty safe. But what happens in your head and how that causes the shift in the paradigm, I just know it works because I've been at it for too long. I've seen too many people come in and do the Firewalk and come back. And like you said, here's a speaker that's a really good speaker, but they Firewalk and now they become an extraordinary speaker, right? I remember
the stage does not scare her.
Right. Stage doesn't scare me either. I just, I don't know why. I think I learned really how to talk to others in AA. That really helped me. AA was such a wonderful thing for me because, in AA, we have what's called the 12 steps, and those 12 steps have put your life back together. They also have what's called the 12 traditions. And that's really how to act as a member within the group. And when you're doing things out there. Well, in the middle of that is called the preamble. And the preamble is such a beautiful thing. And I took it to heart. And it says, when anyone anywhere reaches out, I want the hand of AA to be there. And for that, I'm responsible. And so that just kind of spilled over into the personal development industry, because I've learned, if you help enough people get what they want, you'll always get what you want. This is the beautiful thing, right? And a lot of people don't realize that part. I think it's really important because a lot of my clients, they've achieved at a very high level, but here's what they haven't mastered yet: fulfillment, the art and science of achievement versus fulfillment. Because I talk to entrepreneurs all the time, and I tell them, look, you're not going to get to the end and go, wow, I made a big mistake. I wish I'd have spent more time making money and less time with my family. Yeah, that's not going to happen. So you better get that figured out, or otherwise it's going to cause you quite a bit of pain in the final stages, or in your golden years, is like where I am now, right? I got that figured out. And so I get to spend a lot of time with my kids. I get to spend a lot of time with my grandkids. I can go where I want, when I want, anytime I want, as often as I want. And so, and still do what I do, right? So that's kind of why I developed the academy too, because I'll have a whole group of people out there that can still do what I've done, and they'll continue to change people's lives using the Firewalk experience.
Awesome. So it is time for us to do the rapid fire. So I'm going to just give you three things. So what is the glass walk experience?
So the glass walk.
Do we walk on broken glass?
Yes, you do.
Okay, well, as you can imagine, die hard. What?
Oh, that's hilarious. I can't believe you said that. So yes, the glass walk. Well, let me back up. Sometimes the Firewalk isn't always logistically possible. It's just not. There's fire marshals involved, and there's all kinds of things. Well, with the glass walk experience, I go in with a suitcase and it's full of glass, and I lay it out and they walk on it. It's broken glass. Well, it's funny, when I did Google, we ended up doing the glass walk. And the reason we did the glass walk is that those 148 executives were graduating that day, and they wanted to do the experience in the middle of the day. And so I don't do firewalks in the middle of the day. So I offered them the glass walk, and they said, oh yeah, we'll do that. That's great. Let's do that. So the night before, when I got out there to Mountain View, I'm sitting with Google, and I'm also sitting with the University of North Carolina. Their people were there because they're the ones that designed the curriculum for Google. So we're having dinner, and we're kind of, we're just talking and exchanging pleasantries. And all of a sudden they kind of talking, and all of a sudden one of the girls goes, Dave, we'd like to ask you a question. And so they're like a little apprehensive about it, right? And I said, yeah, sure, of course. What's your question? They said, well, you know that scene in Die Hard where Bruce Willis has to run across the broken glass? Yes. And I go, yeah. And she said, would you be okay if we showed that before we brought you on stage? And I'm like, you're my kind of people. I was like, yeah, absolutely. She goes, well, and we have one other request. I'm like, okay. And she said, you know that Annie Lennox song where it says walking across broken glass? Can we play that song when we're bringing you on stage from the green room? And I'm like, oh yeah, you're my kind of people. So yeah, in fact, Vicki, we set a world record in 2019. I had a client that I did it in Paris, and we glass walked over 1,500 people.
Oh my God.
That's what I said. You know, and you think that's something. I'm the guy that's got to get on an airplane with 8 suitcases of broken glass.
Yeah, TSA love you, huh?
TSA, they're like, and so you know what I did? I made a sheet, right? And I said, here's who I am, you know, here's my website. We do corporate team building. We're going to use these kits for the glass walk experience. I had to put it in English and in French. And I had TSA approval, obviously, but still, I had to put that inside every suitcase of glass. And they did. They inspected every single one of them, right? Like,
oh wow.
Oh, it was hilarious. So yeah, so it makes it real interesting when you're getting on and off airplanes. That's for sure.
I believe that. So, whenever you started this business on your own, you had that relationship with Tony. Was there any feeling that I'm not going to be as good as he was?
No, none.
Awesome.
Well, to back up, when I was flying, when I did Google, the first event for Google, and I'm flying out there, it's like I'm kind of going along in the flight, and I go, Dave, do you know where you're going? You're on your way to Mountain View. You have to get on stage in front of 148 executives. You're a drug addict, alcoholic, got kicked out of high school. You're dumb as a rock. I mean, you know what I mean? So I dealt with all those, you know, that dialogue, you know, that we do, right? And then and all of a sudden I'm kind of going along with that. And then all of a sudden the thought popped in my head. And I remember thinking, yeah, do you remember what happened in 2005, Dave? And in 2005, Tony and I went to London and we set a world record.
Wow.
We firewalked 12,300 people. And so it was like, you know, a little guy tapping me on the shoulder. He goes, yeah, look, you firewalked 12,300 people. You can glass walk 148 executives. No problem. And so it was like that little boost of confidence. And I have those conversations with me, but yes, self-doubt can seep in, but I'm pretty good at crushing it like a boss.
Yeah. And I think that's just really the important message, that you will, in anything you do, when you push yourself outside of your comfort zone, you will have self-doubt. You will, you could self-sabotage. You could let that doubt keep you from being the great person, having that great experience, or having someone else have that great experience because of you.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, that's spot on. I mean, look at my life, right? I was adopted. My mother couldn't take care of me, so she did a loving thing, and she had let her sister adopt me. And the next thing you know, a few years later, they start drinking. I start drinking. I get on drugs. I wake up one morning and I'm literally going to put a bullet in my head because I can't stand the excruciating pain from the alcoholism and the drug addiction. I ended up calling AA. They came and rescued me. They brought me to my first meeting, and and I've been sober ever since. In fact, on June 8th, right, coming up, I'll have 35 years.
Oh, awesome! Congratulations.
Thank you. So AA and the personal development industry came together. I'm listening to a program. I'm reading his book. It's such a beautiful marriage, if you will, when AA and the personal development industry comes together at the same time. It's magical. It really is.
Yeah.
Talk about powerful. Going to an AA, I go to a Tony Robbins event. I'm not going to do the firewalk. I'm not going to do the firewalk. Oh my gosh! Stop, wipe your feet, and celebrate. I get chosen to come volunteer. I get chosen to be on the team. I go on the fire team. I I get involved with the security team. Next thing I know, I'm the captain of the fire team, traveling all the world with Tony Robbins. Next thing you know, Google calls me. Next thing I know, I start my own company. NASA calls me. I mean, so, you know, I left myself open. And if there's something I can share with your listeners, and that is, there's going to be opportunities that come to you, every one of us, all the time. The question is, are you ready?
Yeah.
Right? The confidence to be able to step up and do what it is you're being asked to do. Or what T. Harv Eker used to say is, say yes.
That's what I was just going to say. It's so easy to say no, but really, no doesn't give you anything. No doesn't get you anywhere.
Say yes. You'll figure out a way.
Yeah,
and say yes. And if you don't know how to if you don't know what you're going to do, you'll figure it out.
Yes, that's right? Exactly right.
You really will.
And you know, there's more and more people that are out there, just as AA did to you, to lend you that hand, to walk with you, to be able to make you make the experience one that you can get through and you will be a better person for.
Yeah, like the preamble that I was talking about in AA, right? When anyone anywhere reaches out, I want the hand of AA to be there. And for that, you're responsible. And, you know, you go into an AA meeting with the idea that the next person that walks through that door, I'm responsible.
Yeah.
That person's life is on the line. This isn't, you know, this isn't the Elks Lodge here. You know, this isn't the Chamber of Commerce. This is Alcoholics Anonymous. People's lives are on the line.
For sure.
And for that, I'm responsible. And I love that responsibility because I love talking to them. I want them to know, look, your life will never have to be as crappy as it is today ever again. You're going to have to do what we do, right? You're going to have to, we're going to tell you some things to do. And AA says, well, it's only suggestion. We're just suggesting what you should do. Well, okay. But it would be like suggesting if you're going to jump out of a plane, take a parachute with you, you know, that kind of a thing. And so I was so, you know, the men, when I got to AA, they knew I was sick. They knew that I died. I'd put the pistol in my mouth twice that day. And so they knew, and they just held on to me. They showed me love and compassion and understanding. They gave me guidance. And it's one of the most powerful organizations on earth, if you ask me. And so that spilled over. Then when you take the personal development and all that, you know, again, it comes back, Vicki, and you're doing it on your podcast. You help enough people get what they want, you'll always get what you want. Because the fears we don't overcome become our limits. So, you know, T.R. Decker, back to that, what you were saying, and that is ready, fire, aim.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. I could talk to you for hours. I just want you to know I could talk to you for hours, but what we do need to share your information with the folks so that they can learn how to connect with you and also take advantage of the great gift that you just mentioned. So for those of you that are listening, and as I tell everyone each time, if you haven't got a paper and pencil, you should have from the very beginning, but if you haven't, if you could just run and go get that real quick. So I will read the website information for you to take down. The information will be on my YouTube channel, if you can subscribe to that. It will also be on my website. And also, if you view the video, you'll be able to see this in the replay. So the website is https://firewalkadventures.com. Again, that's firewalkadventures.com. He's on Facebook, dave.albin.10. LinkedIn is dave-albin. And then Instagram is firebuilder2. And YouTube, just search for Firewalker. I'm sure you'll find him or his name.
Yeah, it's under Firewalk Adventures for YouTube. Yeah.
Very good. And I'll let you talk a little bit about what they can find on your website.
A little bit of everything. There's a lot of information about me, my career. How did I get here? What do we do? We talk about the Firewalk experience. We talk about the glass walk, the board break, the arrow break, and some of the other experiences that we offer. We talk about the Dave Albin Firewalk Academy, which is coming up in October, as I mentioned earlier. So we promise to give you a code for that. And the code is 6828. Again, 6828. So when you go to firewalkadventures.com, at the top there's a tab, the Academy. You click on that tab, you can watch the videos and search it a little bit and read up on it and do a little due diligence. And if you think it might be for you, you'll get a hold of me. I'll get you on the phone, and if I think it's a good fit, I will tell you. If I don't think it's a good fit, I want you to know something. I will tell you that as well. We don't bring people into the Academy just to bring them. That's not what I'm looking for. I'm looking for somebody that's going to come into that Academy, realize what they have, and go back out there and change a lot of lives. So at the time, if you're going to move forward with the Academy, you give us that code and we'll give you a substantial discount for being on Vicki's podcast today.
Question, what's the guitar symbolizing for you?
The guitar?
On your little graphics at the bottom, there's a guitar, the fire, and the feet. I get the fire and the feet, but there's a guitar there.
I don't know. Maybe one of the Chamber of Commerce's that I'm a member of, where I live here in Ashe County, that's their symbol, is a guitar. So that might be that, is what that is what I'm guessing.
Yeah, I just thought that was an interesting emoji. I didn't know if you had a
I know what you're saying. Oh, you know what? Sometimes emojis, yeah, I just use a electric guitar, the flaming feet, or the flame and feet. And so I just use different emojis. So I'm guessing that's what I get it right. Okay, I got you. Yeah, that's what that is. So it's like a rock firewalk, rock star firewalk is what that
rock star. That's good.
Rock star firewalk. There we go.
There you go. Awesome. Dave, it's just been such a wonderful time chatting with you. You gave us such great information, such good stories and history. You shared a lot of tips and really the value and benefit of personal development, saying yes, and realizing that you are greater than you really know you are.
Absolutely. 100%. Yeah.
So as always, I remind everyone that life is a journey and it's up to you to enjoy the ride. This is Vicki Nettling signing off.
Thank you for tuning into the Find Your Leadership Confidence podcast with Vicki Nettling, where we share impactful lessons that help you grow as an individual, grow your confidence, and find the positive and good within you so you powerfully and authentically become the best version of yourself. Remember to visit our website at www.findyourleadershipconfidence.com and enjoy even more great episodes like this one. Again, while you're here, subscribe to us via your favorite network. We look forward to seeing you next time on the Find Your Leadership Confidence podcast.